Yeah, I'm just like really muted. It's like I just feel like
Well, when you
I
can't
feel
really
like
breathe properly,
atmospherically oppressed is what I feel like.
I like that
Atmospherically
term.
oppressed. That's what I
Can
feel
we
like.
put that on a shirt? Let's make a reel as well. Books to read when you feel atmospherically
Atmospherically
oppressed. I,
oppressed.
I like it. I like it.
Atmospherically oppressed.
I'm just saying.
The air is
You know,
poison.
yesterday worked out well because I got to just like relax and read before I had to go on the other side of town to pick Caleb up. So that was nice. I was very tired too. Was very, very
Yeah.
tired. So
Well,
I
it's
was
a
like,
good thing
oh,
we didn't record yesterday because we would have been in the same predicament as the following weekend, but just
right?
for like a different reason. The
Exactly.
power was out for like 2-3 hours, somewhere in there.
Wow. And
Which is
that's
not
hard too because,
horrible, but like that's a good chunk
well,
of time.
we lose steam. It's like hard to
Mm-hmm.
like pick it back up
Mm-hmm.
and like get back in the groove and the rhythm that we
Mm-hmm.
have when we have to just stop abruptly like that. So
But I got a lot
all's
of good
well that
reading
ends
in.
well. Me too.
Exactly. I
Me
got a lot of good
too.
reading. We're making our way through Women in Translation. Are you
Yeah.
cruising through your list?
I yes and no. I'm cruising through my Woman the Translation and cruising through my arcs.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, how many
So
distractions have you gotten? Because I'm getting a few. Like, there's a few books that seem to be creeping in, like from the outside. Like, read me.
well, I feel like the arcs are the distraction for Woman the Translation because I'm trying to
Ah,
read them before the pub dates. So but at the same time I think I have a good balance going on right now.
that's
Like
good.
they're all getting like equal time. I feel
Well,
like.
that's good.
Yeah.
We'll talk
Yeah.
further about arcs in another episode, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, I I just have it gets very distracting
Mhm.
reading, right? Like there's too many options. Look behind
There
us. There's too
are.
many options.
I think we were just talking about
Like,
via our chat yesterday like I'm always like eyeing trust. Like I just want to
mm-hmm,
get back into it. I'm also like dying to get into Mercury Pictures Presents. You know,
mm-hmm.
so like they're all like staring at me like, I know you want me. I know you want me. I'm like,
We,
I
you
do
know
want
what?
you.
Well, you know what happened is Knopf sent me tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and I'm like,
Same.
well, I want to read that, and then
Don't leave me.
this,
Let me know when you start. I'll start too.
this is Mariner, which I no, this is Doubleday sends me Bad Cree. And like both of these I want to jump into immediately because they're just so good. They sound so stinking good.
Well,
And
you know what else
like
I want to
I'm
jump into is
trying
the
to
Davenports.
focus. Yeah, I
It's
know you
hard.
really.
Oh, I want
It's so
to
hard.
really
You get distracted
badly.
sometimes with the book mail. And you're like, I just want it. And then sometimes I'm like, you know what? I didn't read. I didn't read the second volume of Fangirl. And I'm like, like that's quick. Like I could say, like, focus, Alyssa, focus.
It's hard.
You've
It's
got
hard.
an
It's like having
agenda that's
all the shiny little toys around you and just want to play with them all.
I
You know,
know.
you want to play with them all.
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
hard.
It is. It is. There's some fantasy stuff I want to read right now. Not
This
Will of
is
Time series. Okay, not that.
that's what happens, I think, when I start reading a lot of lit fic, is that I start to think, you know what I want? I want like a good fantasy. And then I start reading a fantasy and I'm like, ooh, that lit fic looks really good. It's like I just can't
Back and forth. Back and
decide
forth.
where I want to be. And I read more lit fic because they're usually shorter. So like I can cruise through a bunch of lit fic.
Yeah.
It's hard,
Oh,
man.
you're saying shorter than fantasy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm having a hard time. I get this feeling like I just want to like devour all the books. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And it's just really
Mm-hmm.
hard. And it's like I need to take a vacation and just like read for days
I
straight.
know. That's why the other day I just said, Jesus, he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I want to be left alone. And I just want to read for 24 hours. And
That
it was
is fair.
glorious. It
That
was
is fair.
glorious. And
Well, I
I
have
may have to
time
do
off
another one
coming
of
up.
those soon.
Yes. Maybe during my time off, you could do one.
I can try. We can try to
So
arrange that.
I'm just doing it, just taking a week off, and not to go anywhere, do anything. I just really want to like relax, unwind, and play in the garden and read.
That sounds
That's it.
absolutely lovely. And
That's
you'll
it.
be excited. We're working on our October vacation, and a week is in Spain. We knew that one. But then it sounds like we're doing Portugal.
You must take me along via all of your photos and all of your video.
I will. We were going to go to Ireland, but I think it'll be less expensive if we just train it down to Portugal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me where you think I should live. Give me all the deets, okay? Just, help me get my file together of my future plan to possibly move to Portugal.
I know there's a bunch of English, well, they're not English bookstores, but they're bookstores that have English language books in them. Mm-hmm. And then there's a library in Porto that's supposed to be really pretty, and that's literally all I know about Portugal. Jesus keeps asking me, what do you want to do in Portugal? I'm like, I literally know nothing. These are the two things I know. As somebody who grew up on top of Portugal, like I hope that you know of things that we can do there, since that's where you go to like vacation. Tell me. You tell me. But yeah, I'll take you along on that journey as we flesh that out.
Please do.
Yeah, so
that's going to be
nice
great.
To have something to look forward to. Yeah.
Well, you guys have been trying to get to Spain for like 3 years now.
This will be the third year. So hopefully we get there.
Finally, just wear the gloves, wear the mask and the face shield, wear the long sleeves. Just protect yourself as much as possible on the plane, please. And have just a smacking good damn time.
We're going to try.
I'm very excited for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be good. Anyway.
2 nurses finally get to go on vacation, folks. They
finally
get to go on vacation.
We went to DR and then we got COVID.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's right.
It was our first true vacation in 2 years.
That's true.
2.5 years.
Right.
And we got COVID.
I mean, maybe just put on a whole hazmat suit. I feel like that's appropriate and would be accepted.
I don't even know anymore.
All right,
just
people,
roll
if
the
there's
dice.
anyone from Portugal listening, give her places to go and visit.
Yes,
Tell
please.
them things.
Yes,
leave it in the comments on our Instagram.
Yes. Anyway, what are you reading, my darling?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I finished. This was my first finished book for Winter Translation Month. And it is Sin is a Puppy That Follows You Home, which is by Balaraba Ramat Yakubu, translated from the Hausa by Aliyu Kamal. And it's a very slim book. And it is described as an Islamic soap opera complete with polygamous households, virtuous women, scheming harlots, and black magic. I've read this in one sitting in my bed.
It sounds compulsively readable.
Alyssa. When I tell you this was a good time, this was a good damn time. It really was like a soap opera. So we start out with the virtuous woman who's married and they have children, and her husband is fairly wealthy. He has like a little like a market stand, and he sells like fabrics and things like that. He's very well off. He is an absolute dickhead. I mean, he's terrible. He does not give the children any money because, they have to like pay for school to go away to go to school. They have to pay for all the things. He helps out with none of that. He gives her basically pennies for the food. So she has a little side business where she cooks meals, and that's how she pays for the things for their home, things for the children. And he's not only just so cheap and also so mean, he's got community penis. He's just throwing it around to everybody.
Community penis.
He's just throwing it around more to everyone.
Atmospherically oppressed community penis.
I mean, he's chasing all of the skirts, okay? All of them. And he's just so mean to her. She's so sweet. She's so kind. Even the mother-in-law is trying to tell him, like, look, there's no one else to put up with your crap. She's the mother of your children. She's your wife. Just treat her right. But can he do that? No, he can't. So he finds another wife, brings her into the home. Little do we know, she's seen some little black magic lady to put like some kind of like roots on him so that he's like enamored with her no matter what she does. And he ends up telling the wife, the first wife, and the children to get out of his house because he's done with them. Oh, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm
And it's
telling you,
something
I
like
had the
this
popcorn
big.
going.
It's
It's
only like this big.
it is only 126 pages, and I'm telling you, it was like a full season of a soap opera. It was fantastic. It
I
was
need to get this
fantastic.
book. I need to get on this ride. I 100% need to get on this ride.
It was really, really great. So I this was first published in 1987. And I need
80s
to
were a hell of a
look on
time.
Goodreads to see like what else this author has, because again, I was just on a deep dive trying to find translated works a few months ago, so I'm not familiar with her backlist, but I will be looking into it because this was so great and it was so fun, and I had the best time. Sin is a Puppy That Follows You Home by Bella Raba Ramat Yakuba, translated from the Hausa by Aliyu Kamal.
I have to find that. Well, I recently finished, and by recently I mean like 2 hours ago, The Hacienda by Isabella Canas.
What have that?
Canas. I don't speak any language as well. Anyway, I don't know how to say it in Enya. I'm sure I'm doing it wrong. But this was phenomenal and so much better than Mexican Gothic. It is what I
Really?
wanted Mexican Gothic to be
Okay, I'm
in
excited.
terms of how the commitment to the Gothic style. They're set in completely different times. It is billed as Rebecca meets Mexican Gothic. I mean, in the beginning, I really only thought the Mexican Gothic piece was because it's set in Mexico and it's a Gothic novel.
Mm-hmm.
It has hints of Mexican Gothic with like, there's something wrong with this house. So you have our main character whose name is escaped Beatrice. And she gets married. Like her family's sort of disgraced. This is after the Mexican War of Independence, and she's sort of on the outs now. She's a little darker skinned. Her family has gone down in social stratus, and she marries this man. What's his name? Rodolfo, and he is like a wealthy man. He lives in this big house. He has all the trappings of wealthy man life.
Yeah.
Servants, yada yada. And he has this weird, mysterious sister. And this house, and once she gets in there, and Rodolfo's kind of away for a lot of the story, all these weird things start happening in the house. She starts seeing things, weird things start happening to her. She's feeling very paranoid. She eventually goes to the priest, and there's this young priest in town, and there's something not quite right with the priest either. And it's all just very dark and mysterious and atmospheric and everything I wanted Mexican Gothic to be.
Wow.
And it's like so much. It's so good. It's so good. I don't want to like spoil anything, but like the Rebecca hints are 100% there because that sister is totally Mrs. Danvers. The house is totally creepy. There is a dead first wife, that sort of seems to be the thing haunting her. But like, is she? I don't know. Why is she? We don't know. She just dies. It's
what?
So many secrets, so many mysteries. It's so good. It's so good. It's so freaking good.
Okay, well, you've excited me. This was my this was my May or April book of the whenever it was a book of the month pick. I got it from book of the month.
Yeah, because I had it on pre-order because it was one of my anticipated reads for the year.
But I think I'm going to save it for October.
It's a good October book. I just read it because my Libby hold came in, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen to it. And the audiobook's really good, and it's
because I like Mexican Gothic more than you did, and if you're telling me this is even better than that, oh, it sounds like I'm in for a real treat.
I think it has a lot more depth than Mexican Gothic did.
Okay, I'm here for it. Okay, so boom, that's my October.
Yeah, if you read Mexican Gothic and you were like, this is good, but I want more, here's your more.
Awesome.
Here's your more.
I mean, when I chose it for book of the month, I was like, fingers crossed, like, God, I hope I'm not making a mistake. You know what I mean? Because I was like, so that makes me happy to hear
anytime
that.
I do those mashups, it's like, this is bobbity blah and bobbity blah. And is it? I don't know. Right. Sometimes it's not an accurate. Sometimes I don't know. It changes the way you look at the book, or it's not fully representative of what the book is. You get really weird it's such a weird way to sell a book to me. But I also understand kind of why you do it, because you have to have some frame of reference, right?
I mean, yeah. I always find it funny when I read like, oh, it's this meets that, and I'm like, well, I've read neither of those, so this helps
Yeah,
me not at all.
nada. Yeah.
You
But I
know,
think they do it so that people have that
some kind of
point
an
of reference.
idea, right?
Yeah. But I think it's just funny because you sent me that thing overnight about from Tour about Daphne du Maurier. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
she is a freaking goddess. And I'm glad that she's always been quite popular. I mean,
Yeah.
she's never not been popular, but I feel like that article made me feel really good because I feel like she's getting like a little bit of airtime and it makes me
Mm-hmm.
happy. Hopefully
Yeah.
more people will read her. I still want to read Rule Britannia, which I have up there, which I haven't read yet.
I don't think. I think I just have two books by her.
You have
Jamaica
Jamaica
Inn.
Inn and Rebecca.
Do I have Rebecca?
Or do you have My
Now,
Cousin Rachel? Or do you have
oh wait.
Frenchman's Creek? Do you want me to
Oh
keep going through
crap.
books?
I need to look now. Well, not now, but I need to look and see because now I'm getting
Right now. I
confused.
need you to do it
You're
right
like, no,
now. I need you to
look, do a
stop.
Rebecca, do a Daphne du Maurier inventory right now. Actually, I do
I
need to
would
figure that
tell you
out.
that I would give you a Rebecca, but no. All of my copies of Rebecca are
No, Rebecca is your heart.
mine.
I would
Mm-hmm.
never, I would never, I would
There are
never.
lines in there that, like, as I've read it, like, when I read them as a teenager, like, I read them a lot more, like, sort of emo kid reading romance.
Yeah, yeah,
And if that makes any sense. And then as an adult, because I did a reread, last year or 2 years ago when they put out the Netflix show that was terrible, or whoever did the
yeah,
show.
yeah.
And there's, you read it so much differently. I've read it so much differently at this age. And like, because there's a whole piece of it of like, how much do you really know about your spouse or your partner?
Mm,
And like the secrets that
yeah,
you keep from each other.
right. Oh, okay. I'm remembering now. I only have Jamaica Inn, and that's the
Ah,
only one I've read. So the next time I hit McKay and I see some Du Maurier, I'm going to pick it up. It's
Rebecca's wonderful.
Jamaica Inn,
I
the one that
want
I have.
that
Yeah.
white one. Have you seen the white one that's like embroidered?
No. A
I mean,
Rebecca
the cover
version?
is
I mean,
not, it's not
edition?
a cover, but it looks like it looks like it's been like embroidered like a pillowcase with a big R on the front. I want that edition. I don't have that edition.
Who makes that one?
Oh, I don't know. I think I have it somewhere on my wish list. I'd have to find it. One day I might buy it.
What year was
Just
it that me and the book girls and Jesus bought you the same copy of Rebecca? Was
that
that
was
2
a
years
couple of
ago?
years ago, 2 years ago.
We
You
thought we were
guys,
on to something. We were like, oh yeah, she is gonna be so surprised. And
you
he was thinking the same thing.
it's okay because I now have an unopened, pristine folio society of Rebecca and an opened one that I can look at. So
Yeah.
I am not upset. He was like, but
That
we
was
can
pretty
return
funny
mine.
though.
And I was like, no, we can't.
That's pretty
We can't
funny.
return it at all. What are you talking about? Return it.
So do you think I should read Rebecca next?
Yes.
Or is there one? Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. 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 You can read it right now. Stop. Let's stop recording. Let's go.
You're like,
Let's read it now.
just go get it and just read it right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Where is that white
I'm making
cover?
that happen this year. You don't have to worry about that at all.
Please do. And if anybody else wants to do a reread or a first read, let me
Everybody's going to
know.
be reading it in October. You know this.
I know. It got a lot of love
October 1 is going
recently
to hit,
too.
and it's going to be flooding the Bookstagram timeline.
It also got a lot of love because in the last year and a half or so, 2 years, because of Taylor Swift, because I think it was a book that she mentioned in
Oh,
like a
Jesus.
song or while talking about songs or something. So every time she mentions something, then of course people get like
Right. Yeah.
really into
Yeah.
it. I am
Yeah.
desperately trying to find that cover for you, and I thought I had it I thought I have it on my wish list, but maybe not. Maybe it's gone.
How many books has she written?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was in that article you sent me, but I can't remember. She has got many short stories and like a handful of longer books. I can only rattle off about 4 or 5 off the top of my head.
I like when I find an author that I love and they have such a deep, rich backlist. That's one of the
Well,
most
she's got like
exciting
Rebecca,
things.
Jamaica's in, My
My
Cousin
cousin
Rachel, Frenchman's
Rachel.
Creek, Rule Britannia. And those are like the 5 that I can think of off my top of my head. But she could have more. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna get into it. For sure.
Please do.
I have
And
to.
then tell me what you think.
Yes. Yes.
Unless
I'm
it's bad, and
hoping.
then don't tell me anything.
Well, I'm hoping I can find a couple when I go back to McKay, which I'm gonna
You
try not
probably
to go for
will.
like a month. I've been there too often, and
I found it. It's the
you did.
Virago Modern Classics. And let me pull it up.
Is it super stupid expensive?
It's the 80th anniversary, and it's $22.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Okay, yes, I have. Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. For whatever reason, it's making me think of that book, Lore.
Yeah,
It
I
has
think
that
because
white
it's just
cover.
white. Yeah.
Right. It's just something that's similar about it, but that's beautiful. And that is very,
Yeah.
very reasonable in price.
Yeah. And now I kind of want to go buy it. Alyssa, stop. Okay. Anyway, what are we here to talk about today before Alyssa buys another book?
Tell us, friend.
We're here to talk about, this is an idea that I had while listening to, I can't remember what podcast it is. If I can't remember it, I'll have Naomi link it in the show notes. But they were talking about books that would be like good book club recommendations. And so that's what we're here to talk about, is like books we've read that maybe aren't like our favorite books or like the best books, but are definitely books that are really good for like a group of people to just talk about. Like they're going to spark a lot of good conversation. They're good book club books. So that's what we're here to talk about. We have each have 5, right?
Topic.
Because that's all I have is 5. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep.
Oh, excuse me.
That's a great topic.
I only have 3 up here, I think. I don't own one, and the other one's downstairs, and I was too lazy to go up and downstairs.
Yeah. All right. You want to kick it off?
I will kick it off, and I'll kick it off with something that I hope that you and I will actually discuss at some point, and that's The Confessions of Franny Langton by Sarah Collins. I read this last month, and this book is absolutely phenomenal. I think you may have told me about it before I saw Books and
did, because I said we need to talk about it. But I said because it's going to be adapted, and we should read it and talk about it.
It kind of got lost in all of the things that we talk about.
She left me, folks. That's what happened. She left me. I want to make it very clear that she left me. Okay, continue.
And then Books and Bow was talking about it, and that finally hooked me. And I got it. I got the audiobook, and I just started listening to it, and it was so good that I then, as soon as I finished it, went and got a hard copy, full price from the bookstore, because it's just phenomenal.
I'm going to tell you something, and it's going to hurt you, because there was a hardcover, the same hardcover that I have at McKay, for like $1. I was hoping that you wouldn't have bought a copy, because I was like, I'm going to go to McKay. I'm going to see that freaking book. I know I am. And I did. The hardcover.
If you see it again, grab it, send it to me, and I'll just put this one up on Pango.
Boom. There we go. Okay. All right.
Anywho, so I think it's a really phenomenal book club read, because there's a lot of discussion about like race relations, and this is obviously set not in today. This is set in the 1800s, around the time that slavery was abolished. The slave trade was abolished in England. So Franny and her father, owner, go from Jamaica to England, and she gets left at this gentleman's house, and this relationship starts to develop between her and the mistress of the house. And so it has a sapphic element as well. But the book starts out because Franny is on trial for the murder of not the Langtons. What are their names? The Benhams. And then it sort of backtracks to her life in Jamaica, the stuff that happened in Jamaica, the reasons why they left, to her going to England, to this relationship budding with the mistress of the house. And there's all this commentary that Franny has on all kinds of different things. It's so meaty and juicy. It is just it is an annotator's dream, and I'm mad that I didn't have a copy to annotate it. And it's so good. And you want there to be a different outcome from Franny, and you know there's not going to be a different outcome for Franny. The book starts off, you know exactly where this is going,
Yeah.
and you still just, you're like, please, Lord, excuse me, I'm spitting. That's how like animated I am. Please, Lord, let there be something better for Franny.
And no.
But this is hands down. And I'm sorry I left you. But I told you as soon as I finished it that I will happily reread it with you so that I can annotate a copy for myself.
Okay. Okay.
So.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Thank you.
Okay. My first one is a book that I read last month, and that is Songs in Ursa Major.
How many copies of that do you have?
Well, so last year, I think it came out last year, and they sent me a hardcover. And then another publisher put it out in paperback, so they sent me the paperback. So I have two.
Oh, nice.
Although I like the hardcover better than the paperback, but they're both cute.
I don't know. I like the paperback.
Yeah, it's cute, but I just like this one better. Songs in Ursa Major by Emma Brody. Apparently, I really love books surrounding music. Okay,
I'm not surprised. When are we getting the family band together?
Right? Get out of my mom's head. So
you can't ever let me meet your mom.
Jane. Anyway, the main character in this book, she is
the hardest part is remembering everyone's names.
I know, it really is. So the main character in this book is a really, really talented musician. She can sing, she can play many instruments. She's a type that can pick up an instrument and just really teach herself how to play it really quickly. She has a really good ear for music. She's just kind of phenomenal. She's young. She's really wanted to do something with this. And she lives like in this little island town. I forget where. And it's a really close-knit community. And she lives with her aunt and her grandmother. And she has a little band, and they're really, really good. And they perform around the clubs, in their little island town. And some producer guy, hears her when she is doing she's at some big show, and this really big name artist gets in an accident, is unable to make the show. And she kind of glides in on stage, and they kind of do their thing. It makes a whole bunch of noise. It's fantastic. Now people are clamoring after her. And so now she's in the mix of working with these people, getting a deal, making a record, yada, yada, yada. And so the guy that was in the accident, the really big name artist, he is doing like rehab. And her sister, who works at the big rehab facility, is one of his rehab people. And so she's getting closer to him. Something's brewing, something's happening, and they're getting pretty private with one another. And she confides in him that, her mother kind of like just left one day and just never came back. Mm-hmm. And there's something about her that he sees that she has a lot of barriers up. She's not really being open, but he wants some more with her, and she wants some more with him. But there's this secret that she has, and he knows she has something going on, but she doesn't reveal it right away. So come to find out, should I tell? Is this a spoiler? I'm always conflicted on whether something's a spoiler or not. Let me just say this. They found out that the mother was really dealing with mental illness. And mm-hmm. So the family concocted this lie about the mother's mental illness because they didn't want any shame brought to the family. And mm-hmm. So the story really talks about what a burden it was on this main character to have that secret, and mm-hmm. to have people think that her mother just like disappeared one day and never came back. And also it really kept her from building solid, strong, close-knit relationships because she was hiding this big secret. So anyway, long story short, she falls in love with a guy. Things maybe work out, maybe they don't. Her career goes through rising to the top, completely imploding, and her trying to figure out how to like make it again. And there's some type of resolution regarding her mother and her aunt and her grandmother at the end, but I won't say what because that would be a spoiler. But it was very good. It's much more than I thought it was going to be. I didn't know there was going to be this mental illness aspect. I didn't know it was going to be this missing mom aspect. I didn't know it was going to be this burden of the real truth that's like inhibiting her from really being a fully open person. I didn't expect any of that. And that is what made this book 4 stars for me. Songs in Ursa Major by Emma Brody. Emmy.
All right.
No, Emma Brody.
So I guess I'll just alternate with a book that I don't have a copy of up here. I actually don't even own a copy of this yet. But I'm going to say The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. Did you read that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this book is like hands down like 5 stars phenomenal. You have a fig tree that is one POV that is telling the story of this couple that meets in Crete. They are from opposite sides of the civil sort of war and tension that's going on in Crete at the time, and they fall in love. You also are in the present, and you know that they fell in love, they got married, they had a child, but the it's not a spoiler. The mom's dead. You open up like that. And the story just kind of goes through the daughter dealing with all of her own sort of curiosity about her parents' past, her own growing pains of life, and going back to the story of her parents and the story of Crete and the story of the people that lived there. And it's just so beautiful. It's such a beautiful book, and I'm mad that I didn't have a copy to annotate because I think it's it's so phenomenally written, and I feel like you can have an amazing discussion about it. And the fact that the fig tree, like if you read the book, that fig tree point of view is just it's stellar. It is this like omniscient. Do you know what word I'm trying to say? Omniscient. Thank you.
Okay, yes.
People
out there, you know what we're trying to say.
It's the all-knowing. My mouth no worky today. It is like this all-knowing narrator that provides these like beautiful insights into the historical aspects, but also the personal aspects between this girl's parents, and it's such a beautiful story and heartbreaking and wonderful. Oh, the couple that owns the bar.
You are really swept up by this book.
You're going to be like, I hated it. Did you hate it?
I didn't love it.
Oh!
I did not love it. And I was really over that damn fig tree.
Borky!
I wanted to DNF that book so badly. I hate when a book is like not really doing it for me, but there's something about it where I still even know what happens. I hate when I'm in that position. I don't know. I may reread it later on, like maybe next year or something. Alyssa is beside herself. This is for the people who
I don't even know you. I read this and I was like, Naomi definitely loved this.
I liked it, but I did not love it. I did not love it. She's like, who are you? That is a lot of people's favorite book right now. For many, that is going to be their favorite book of the year.
Because it's phenomenal.
That's what people say.
All right, just tell me your book. I need to move on from this. The heartbreak.
Okay. My
what else
next
are you going to do to break my heart?
Silver Sparrow by T.R. Jones. I've talked about this before. This is a book that just will bring about so much emotion. You have one man, 2 wives, 2 daughters, and they don't know about each other. And it becomes the hottest of the hot messes of them all. I mean, the rage you feel and the sorrow that you feel, the sadness that you feel is so deep. I mean, it is so deep. I was completely entranced in this book. So you have the one wife and daughter who are like his showpieces, like it's the approved family. This is the family that everyone knows about. This is the family that he publicly claims. You know, this is the one that gets all the love, all the support, all the money. And then there's the other wife and daughter that are the secret. And when the daughters, when they all find out about each other, what's sad is the daughters One feeling like she wasn't good enough to be publicly loved and supported and claimed by her dad. And the other one feeling slightly guilty for, and a little bit jealous, feeling guilty because she does have a sister that the dad was somewhat ignoring or not giving as much to her as he gave to the other sister as he gave to her. And then also feeling jealous, like now there's someone else vying for his time, vying for his attention, vying for all the things that have always really been mine. And there's several battles that ensue between the daughters and the mothers, and the man is truly awful. I mean, it's almost like he doesn't really understand the damage and the hurt that he's caused with all these women. And I think you can really unpack this book with a group. You can really break down everyone's actions, especially the secret wife, because she did things in a purposeful manner to be in a particular position. And so there's a lot to be questioned in this book on people's actions and decisions and behaviors. And I mean, I think you would have a ruckus good time talking about this book.
Men are trash. Men are trash.
He was certainly trash.
Seems to be the theme of a lot of books that I'm reading right now. Are like, men are trash.
Same.
So I'm gonna go with something that I'm not sure. I don't think I liked it, but I think because I'm not sure on that, it makes it a good book to unpack with other people. And that is Lincoln and the Bardo by George Saunders. It does have a really phenomenal audiobook with all these different people. It is written really oddly, almost like a play. It is surreal and bizarre, and there's a lot going on in it. There's random commentary on like society. Essentially, this is about Abraham Lincoln when his son dies and the relationship between his dead son and Lincoln and all the other dead people in the cemetery.
Oh, that's what this is about? I've had this book for like 3 years. I don't know what it's about.
So like, and there's all these people essentially like trapped in purgatory. Like essentially the cemetery is like purgatory. This is what okay. I'm not going to say any of this like fact because this book is so weird. I could be 100% off. They could be at like KFC. I don't know. But what I got is that there's like essentially the cemetery. There's all these people that like live in the cemetery and they are sort of in purgatory and they're sort of stuck there. And some of them don't really know they're dead and other ones do. And something strange happens when Lincoln's son gets there because Lincoln's son is really sort of resisting the fact that he's dead. And they have this really strong bond, father and son. And that strong bond seems to shift some of the dynamics within the sort of undead world of the cemetery. And so it is really interesting. But also, like, I don't like it. I don't know. Like, I feel like it may have been too weird for me.
Okay. Weird in what it's actually about, or weird in how it's structured in its writing?
Both?
Or both? Okay.
Both? But like I'm not really sure. I know there were moments where I was like, well, this is clever. And then there were moments where I was like, but like, does it have to exist? I don't know. But I know that you either kind of love or don't care for this book, which is why I think it would be a really interesting, especially if you're a book club that like really likes to break down and dissect books. I think that there's a lot to break down and dissect from here because there's just so many narrative voices. That might be some of it. It's like there's just too many narrative voices for me.
Maybe.
Because in the living world, you get all these voices that come in that are setting up the scenes of current time and what's happening. And that's where you get some social commentary. And then you get a bunch of stuff from the dead people, and that sets up sort of past. And then there's people that are long dead. There's people that are like newly dead. There's people that have unalived themselves. There's all kinds of different people. So there's a lot of comment. There's a lot happening. And to the point where I think I got overstimulated and it was too much. But if you're a book club, this could be a really interesting one to talk about.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot.
Wow. You're making me want to read
I
that
think
really
it's worth the
soon.
read. Like, read the book, because
Oh, I'm gonna read it because I've owned the damn thing for a while. I'm gonna read it.
yeah, it's definitely worth the read.
But do you think I can listen to it, or do you think I need to read? You know how my brain is.
You would
I
want to
may
read
need to read
along.
along. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my next one is one of my favorites, in Westfields by Deshaun Charles Winslow. A short book that really just, it's a short book. It's a little it's a little over 250 pages, but like it feels like a 500-page book with all that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I've read this. But the main character, not, and let me tell you something, I'm still thinking about her like today. She's really something else. She's a very complicated, sometimes loose, rowdy woman. She is extremely careless. Think about living in like a little cul-de-sac,
Mm-hmm.
with like maybe 10 houses, which one of them you live in, and maybe there are like two or three other houses with daughters in them, and those daughters are daughters that you gave birth to and gave to your neighbors. Yeah, you heard me. So she's made a lot of careless choices. She's had some children. She's given those children away. Those children do not know that she's their mother.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea. They just think she's just not the neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when things come to a head, it is it's kind of funny. It's a little bit sad. It's also very confusing because there's a lot of emotions at play here. Because you've gone from knowing this woman as your neighbor, sort of like your neighborhood, friend, the woman that
Mm-hmm.
you sometimes go to about your problems. In some cases, the woman you look up to because she's so free. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have a husband. She's doing her own thing. She's making her own decisions. She's living on her own, being a free woman. And for some, it's like they aspire to do that. And then just realizing the fact that you've been so up and close with this woman, and the whole time it's like that's your mom. So when these things are revealed, there's a whole lot of feelings that are coming up. There's a whole lot of arguments, a whole lot of discussions, just a whole lot of everything that have come up. But when we talk about the decisions that people make and how do you forgive, is there actual redemption? Like, this tackles all of that.
What's it called
All
again?
of that in West Mills.
In West Mills. I'm trying to like read it. I can't see.
Yeah.
I'm
It's one of
blind.
my favorites. I read it a few years ago. I should read it
That
again, but
sounds
I
really
thought it
good.
was very good. There's a lot to talk about here. A lot.
Well, my next one I is the one that's downstairs. I do own a copy of it, and I do need to annotate it. It's a theme. And that is Melissa Favos's Girlhood, which I've talked about 1,000 times here on the channel, everywhere. This literary memoir is absolutely phenomenal, and the amount of just statements that sort of articulated things that I didn't have words for, like
Mm-hmm.
negotiated consent. Like, I never really thought about the things that we do as women to set up a situation where we're not exactly okay with what's happening, but we're tolerating what's happening, whether it's whether it's sexual or not, just social interactions, people
Mm-hmm.
touching us, people getting close to us, people um wanting something from us. The amount of like negotiated consent that happens day to day as a woman, just like all the essays that she has in there that talk about that, just really, I don't know, it struck something. So I feel like, especially if you have a club that likes to, or you have a group of people that really like to read nonfiction or memoirs, I think this one is phenomenal because there's a lot to unpack. um she has a stint as a dominatrix, so there's discussion of being a sex worker. There's a lot to really
Mm-hmm.
take in, and I honestly, it's so phenomenal. The other thing that sticks with me and I think about all the time is her discussion of the emotional burden on women being in with like cis het men and being in that
Mm.
sort of relationship. And you and I talk about this all the time. I
Oh,
think a lot of us
yes.
talk about this all the time with our girlfriends. This, like, we are constantly having all the emotional baggage and all the like the thinking baggage in the relationship, and then your partner tends to just coast while you are homemaker, mother, best friend, therapist, mother, girlfriend, sex object, whatever you are. You're too many roles, and it's exhausting.
Yes.
And all of her exploration of that is just, it's going to make you want to be a lesbian, frankly. Like,
right?
what's that TikTok song? This makes me want to take up lesbianism. Like, that's but I mean, it's phenomenal. If you ever want to read it, Naomi, I will do a reread with you, and I need to eat my copy.
I need to read that. I mean, you have convinced me to read it. It was a very, very talked about book on Bookstagram when it came out. And I did not know what it was about. And so I just kind of ignored all of those posts. But then you started talking about what was actually being discussed in the book. And I was like, oh, okay. I can get with that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a memoir, so there's a lot of things about her life. But in telling us about her life, there is a breakdown of all these other more broad topics that aren't are universal topics that really hit home. And like, just that negotiated consent, man. Like, I don't think I ever really truly thought about just how many things we negotiate so that we can get through life without just being absolutely emotionally scarred.
Good grief. Being a woman, that's so freaking hard, I swear.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My next one is one of my faves. It is Free Food for Millionaires by Min-Jin Lee.
I still need to read that.
Oh my God. I love it so much. So we are following Casey. She is Korean. She has recently graduated from Princeton with a economics degree, and she ends up getting, I don't know, some like investment banker, some kind of job like that. You know, nothing that she's enamored with. It's not really her career path. I don't really think she knows what her career path is to start with, but you know, she's trying to keep up. You know, she's graduated from this Ivy League school. You know, she wants a nice, you know, lifestyle. She's in Manhattan. She's trying to live the life, right? And do all the things that you do to live that life. And she's got this like really popular white boyfriend, and she's got all the pressure from her Korean immigrant parents to, you know, do a certain thing, marry a certain guy, you know, have a certain kind of job. So of course they are not pleased with her, her white boyfriend, not pleased at all. And come to find out they're right, because he's a total jerk, and he ends up cheating on her and becoming just the ass that her parents knew that he was. So check. So it's really her journey of like getting over that hurt and meeting another man and finding what her passions are. And she has a talent for making hats. And it's really her exploration into figuring out who she is, and then finding the strength and the courage to kind of do her own thing, even though that's not the path and the plan that her Korean immigrant parents have kind of laid out for her. That is not easy to do. You feel a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. It's very hard to say no to your parents and to kind of forge your own path. And that's what she's trying to do in this book. And I will tell you, this book is like almost 600 and... No, it's over 650 pages. I read this book in a day and a half. I couldn't stop reading it. It was just that good. It was that good. But there's a lot to talk about with making choices about doing things just for money, doing certain things just to have a particular kind of lifestyle, doing things just because your parents have laid out a certain path for you, and kind of ignoring and pushing down the desires you have for yourself, or even ignoring the desire to figure out what you want for yourself. So there's a lot to talk about in this book. Yeah, and I know everyone loves Pachinko, and Pachinko's great, but this is my favorite.
Read her favorite book.
It's my favorite. I love Min-Jin Lee. When she writes another book, you best believe it's going to be pre-ordered. I can't wait for her to write something else. She's a fantastic author.
So she is a really good author. I still need to read Free Food for Millionaires. Now that I know more about what it's about, because I had no idea what it's about, you're like, you just have to read it. It's my favorite. So I found it.
But can you imagine being at the university and being one of her students?
That would be fantastic.
I would die. I mean, come on. Because she's a professor.
We'll take you over there. You can audit a class with her.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Take all my little notes.
All right. So my last one is simply selfish, and it is so that I can figure out how I feel about this book. And I challenge you, if you have a book club, to read it, and then to let me in on all of your discussions so I can hear all of your thoughts. And maybe one day I'll have a thought on how I actually feel about this stupid book. And that is Hanayana Gahara's To Paradise. Because I still don't know if this book is trash or a masterpiece. I cannot decide. It is.
I don't know either.
Individually, the 3 parts that are actually their own standalone narratives, I think are fantastic. I really think the 3rd part is the best part because it's kind of more speculative sci-fi, and I love that.
Yeah.
But I just don't know.
You know what needs to happen, though, right?
What?
I think I need to read it again.
You do need to read it. You never finished it.
And you do, too. I finished it. I went back.
Oh, I didn't think.
Yeah, I went back. Mika from the Reading Room 444 on Bookstagram, that was one of her little book club picks, and I was like, "All right, girl, sign me up." And I kind of started over, and then I finished it with her group. And I don't know how I feel.
I don't have words, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain this book to you.
I don't either.
It's an alternate United States. It's 3 different stories. There's some sort of generational tie, but like not in any sort of coherent, like easily coherent following way. You get a discussion of the AIDS crisis, which is kind of interesting. The first part is very like Henry James-esque. It's set in Washington Square. It's got like all of that. They're 3 separate novels. It's just
yes.
So selfishly, I need everybody to read this in like a book club format. Like if you have a book club, if you have a Zoom call, invite me. I want to hear your thoughts. And one day, perhaps, I will have accumulated enough thoughts from other people to mingle with my thoughts, and then I'll have an idea of how I feel about this book.
I mean, I really have a strong desire to read it again. Not this year, but next year.
Please no, not this year.
Yeah, next year at some point, you know what I mean? Like not in any particular month, just at some point next year. I really feel like I would like to reread it. And the mistake that I made with that book is I started that book and I put it down. And that was the wrong thing to do, because when I initially picked it up, I was very much into it. And then I think I put it down for about a month. Mm-hmm. And then I went back to it and I was like, what is happening? I can't find my groove. Whatever I was feeling before, it is gone and I couldn't get it back. Mm-hmm. So note to self for me, like I can't put it down next time. I have to keep going. Yeah. So maybe one day both of us can revisit this, but seriously, if you have a book club discussion with a Zoom link or whatever, notes, I don't care. Send them to me. I want to hear them all. I want to hear all your thoughts because I don't know. I don't know. It's either a hot mess or a masterpiece, and I don't think there's any in between, and I don't know which one it is. Now, I think Simon, my guy from Savage Reads, I think he interviewed her about that book, if I'm not mistaken. Perhaps. I don't know. We may want to take a listen and see, but that's going to be a reread for me for sure at some point. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To Paradise. Yep. Somebody help me make his final decision. Yeah. What's your final book? My last and final book is a book that I just got from the library. I went to the library to pick up holds, and I was like, oh, let me peruse the shelves. And I saw this book, Brass. I do not know how to pronounce this name. I'm going to spell the names for the people that are listening and not looking. This is Brass by first name Xhenet, last name Aliu. And I had just skimmed the inside of the synopsis. Like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Oh, this book was great. It was really great. So let me try to break it down. So the main character, Elsie, is a very young girl, and she's working at the Betsy Ross diner, and she's got a crush on Bashcom, who was one of the cooks there, and he's a little older, and he's all like flirty with her. She's young, and she's feeling great being admired by this older guy or whatever. And the next thing you know, she's his girlfriend. Now, come to find out, he has a wife who is left behind in... Men are trash. Right? Albania. Yes, his wife is left behind in Albania. So There was conflict going on in Albania, and he wanted them to leave, but the wife wanted to stay behind. And he's like, no, there's money to be made. There's dreams to be met. We can really make our way in America.
Mhm.
And so she stays in Albania, and he comes to the United States to try to make a life. And so now he and Elsie are in this thing together, having a little affair or whatever. And he's made it very clear to her that we don't need to talk about my wife. She's there. I'm here. We didn't get married out of love. It was, a marriage for all the wrong reasons. She's not an issue. She's not a concern. So we don't need to ever talk about her. Well, Elsie gets pregnant. Okay.
I just like the way you said that. Well, Elsie gets pregnant.
Okay? And she ends up moving out of the house from her mother and her sister, and her and Bashkim find the place and they move in together. Some time goes by, and things are getting really, really tough in Albania with the wife. And so he says to Elsie one day, she has to come here now. And Elsie's thinking he's talking about the baby. And she's like, well, I don't really have any control over that. She's going to come when she's going to come. We're still months off. And he's like, no, you don't understand. My wife, she's on her way here right now. And so Elsie makes the decision and tells him, well, just go. We'll be fine on our own. Just go. So it's her journey of bringing this new life into the world on her own, with Bashkim sort of kind of coming in and out, her not really letting him back in, and her really just trying to find her way into motherhood as a lone parent. And I just thought it was so wonderful. There's this scene where she's giving birth, and there's this commentary, or not a commentary, there's this discussion like in the head between her and the baby coming out. And it is one of the funniest things I've ever read in my life. I mean, it was hilarious. She's pushing, she's like, man, come on. And the baby's like, well, look, I'm doing the best I can. It's like a crazy parent trying to get out in the real world. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to get out. It was the funniest thing I've ever read. So it's sad, it's heartbreaking. Bashkim makes you upset, and he's falling for things like investing all his money in these get rich schemes. He's lost a lot of money. It's sad for him too, I guess. But later on, she also finds out that because she never knew who her father was, and she's Lithuanian, and so she finds out who her dad is, and she goes on this trek to then find him. So she's got a lot going on. She's got this child. She's trying to find the father. It's a lot going on. But I thought it was really good. It talks a lot about trying to make it on your own, getting over your first love, affairs, trying to make your way as a lone parent, trying to be an independent person. It's a great book for a book club. Brass.
I've never even heard of that.
I've never heard of this book or this author before.
Good pick.
Oh, so I should also say it jumps back and forth telling the story from Elsie's perspective and also from her mother's perspective when Elsie was young. So you kind of go back and forth there. But I thought it was fantastic.
Excellent. So
there we have it.
Those are 10 books that you can pitch for your next book club book.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's so many more. Yeah. We should keep a running list and do this episode maybe once or twice a year.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because there's always a good book
into the mix, right?
Yeah, so. and old ones, because all of these are old that I've talked about.
I don't even remember what I told you about. Lincoln the Bardo's old. Franny Langston's not that old.
Like none of these are new releases.
I got a lot of new releases. Sorry. Good balance, Naomi. You and me.
Even Brass came out in 2018. I love when there's a book like I've never heard of the book or the author, and it turns out to be phenomenal.
There's just so many books out there. There's not enough time to read them all, and it makes me sad that I'm going to die before I read all the books.
I know.
There's a new existential dread for all of you out there.
I know, right?
The atmospheric oppression has me.
I love it.
So, all right. Anyway, so book recommendation time?
Book recommendation time. Oh gosh, I just uncovered an arc that I thought I was reading and I forgot to read. Okay. Moving on. This was a book that I read in 2019 The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes.
I've never read any of that person's books, but everybody loves them.
I've only read this book, and this book I did love. Um, and so I'll read a little bit of the flap. And it's set in the Depression era America. So Alice Wright marries handsome American Bennett Van Cleve, hoping to escape her stifling life in England. But small town Kentucky quickly proves equally claustrophobic, especially living alongside her overbearing father-in-law. So when a call goes out for a team of women to deliver books as part of Eleanor Roosevelt's new traveling library, Alice signs on enthusiastically. This book was great. It was so fun, and so I felt this book had a lot of heart. So the man that Alice was married to, he was really kind of cruel and, not. This is going to sound so weird. Should I say it? She wasn't sure if they actually had sex or not.
That's not weird. Lots of people have that feeling sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, I don't actually know if we've really had sex. So it was a very just a unflattering relationship. They didn't really have anything in common, and there's a lot of controlling things that were going on in that marriage. And so she sets off and she joins this group of ladies to be a traveling librarian, and she meets so many wonderful families, giving them books, and she really, gets into this new job. She learns how to ride that horse, and she learns what those families want to read, and she starts building like real relationships, and eventually she really builds a bond with these other librarian women. And later on in the story, she meets a great guy, and she finally gets to see what it's like to actually like love someone and have them love her back, and to be fulfilled by that love. But it was just a really beautiful story. That's why I say this book is like, it has a lot of heart. There's a lot of heartfelt moments in this book.
That does not sound like an Alyssa book. It sounds too happy.
Oh, it was just really sweet. She had heartfelt moments between her and all of these families she's given books to, heartfelt moments with her and all the other ladies that are doing this traveling library thing, and then that moment of finding like actual love. So it was really sweet. It was. And it made me cry.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. Somebody take a note. Naomi.
It really got at my heart. It really got at my heart.
Naomi never cries at books.
It got at my heart. It got me.
I can't read that because I will just yeet myself out this window.
Yeah, it really got me.
Well, on a different note, I'm going to suggest, which I did not know that you've read this year, but The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. The whole time I was reading this, I just kept thinking of Tessa of the Dubervilles in terms of the tragic, I love it, the tragic nature of our main heroine. So this really centers on the life and traumas of poor Lily Bart, who is an orphaned lady of limited means but lots of social status, who basically the only way for her to be secure in life is to secure a good marriage. But that's really not what Lily wants, and really she wants Selden, but she can't have Selden because Selden's not going, he's like a lawyer, like he can't really marry her or do anything because they have this like weird friendship where like they clearly would like to have a relationship, but they both know it's pointless to do that given all of the way that society is structured. But they still have this flirtatious friendship nevertheless. But you just watch Lily struggle to fit into society that she doesn't really 100% mesh with. Yeah. And it's just, it's tragic. And it very much reminds me of Tess of the Dubervilles, just, many years later. This is like Gilded Age. That's like mid-Victorian. So you still have this theme of women having no agency and having limited understanding of how the world works so that they can't even gain agency. The strict social norms and rules and everything that they have to follow in order to remain, with their reputations intact. How easy it is for a woman to fall, how men never really fall. I think, it is. I have a lot of like dog-eared pages for quotes and stuff because there's just a lot in here it's so phenomenal. It's so well written. I don't even know how to
It
articulate
is.
how
I
well written this
agree.
is.
I
And like,
agree. It's also a book that I can see just rereading whenever.
yeah,
You know.
it's very engaging. It is not like a sloggy kind of read. The writing is really approachable and wonderful. I
Mm-hmm.
know sometimes people feel like classics could be like clunky. I feel like Tess of the Dubervilles might be a little clunky, but you get a similar sort of story in terms of basically a very good woman falling victim to the social structure around her. And yeah, this is like that one guy when he's like, "Oh, I'll help you make money."
Right.
I fucking hate him.
It was a really, really good book. I can tell that I'll read this a few times again over the years.
Phenomenal.
It really was. This was my first Edith Wharton.
Mm-hmm.
My first one, and I really enjoyed it. I already owned her other book, The Customs of a Country, and then when I was at McKay recently, I picked up Age of Innocence.
I have Age of Innocence here. I've read The Buccaneers. I think I read Age of Innocence a long time ago, and Ethan Frome as well. But I think those are the only ones I have. Where did Wharton end up? I moved all the stuff around. So, yeah, that's all I have. The Buccaneers was an unfinished novel that
Oh, okay.
is really good. It's about the American brides that kind of end up going over to England and marrying off, being married off to into the aristocracy. They bring money,
Mm-hmm.
they get a title, that whole thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
you have
Yeah.
three. I think two of them are sisters and one's a friend, but there's three that go over for a London season, and you sort of follow their lives, and it's really interesting. But this was House of Mirth, fantastic.
Yeah.
Please read it. Please read it. And I read this because, I mean, I had it for a while. I was going to read it, but the reason I picked it up was because of Girlhood by Melissa Favos, because she talks a lot about Lily Bart. Because I think there's like a early feminist in Lily Bart, because I don't think she wants to go with the grain, but you see her just the way that she keeps rolling with the punches and finding ways to stay on her own 2 feet is
She was like
admirable.
making
It's
her little
admirable.
money, like her little
But she had to do.
stuff.
I mean, I don't think that she really wanted to get married like that.
I don't think she wanted to either. I think she wanted to find a way to make it on her own, but it was very clear to her that that was going to be impossible.
Almost impossible. And then she has like no skills either. So when she like,
right.
Oh, this would be a good book club pick too.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a lot to talk about in here. So
it would.
Yes. Read it. Now. Drop everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's my gushy review.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed all of these book recs we gave you for your book club. And let us know if you've read any of these, or if you think you may put it up for vote for your next book club read. We would be interested to know that.
I'm still salty about the Island of Missing Trees.
I don't know what she's talking about, folks. Anyway, thank you. This has been such a wonderful episode. Just pretend I never said it. Just pretend I never said it.
There are words I will never forget.
It was never said.
I was so tired of that fig tree.
Did I say that?
You did.
Perhaps. Well, so sorry.
You're not sorry. Anyway, yes, let us know if you've read any of these. If you pick them for your book club, let us know. If you have a book club, you've picked any of these, and you have Zoom links, if you meet in some way, you do a live, whatever it is, shoot it over. If we're free, we can hop on and talk with you guys about that. I'd love to do that. So, yeah.
Yes, I love that
idea. Shoot it over to our DMs on TBR Lowdown. You can reach out to us individually on Instagram, whatever.
Yes.
Whatever you choose to do.
Whatever tickles your fancy and floats your boat.
Tickles your pickle.
All right. That's going to do it for us. We're out of here. Bye.
Bye.